everyone. It is 6:01 p.m. and I am calling to order this meeting, the February 21st, 2023 meeting of the Rutland Conservation Commission. Everybody, all members of the commission who are going to be here are in the room. We are on Zoom. We are being recorded. We are being broadcast. It will be rebroadcast and put on YouTube eventually. Come on. No, I can't read a blessed thing here. Minutes. Interesting. Have people read this already?
Mm-hmm.
Then make a motion.
Go ahead.
You were just going to say something.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Discussion, corrections, in favor.
Gentilucci, aye.
Langer and I.
Pelco, aye.
Crane, aye. All right, so now we have a submission for 315 East County Road. You are the applicant? Someone here's the applicant?
Hello?
Oh, you're on that Zoom, okay.
Yes. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, just fine, thanks. How about yourself?
Very good. So we're submitting a notice of intent for 315 East County Road. It's a project that we had actually submitted a notice of intent for in May of last year. It's a slightly different. We had withdrawn that application. We decided that we wanted to try to access this site from a narrow strip of land that we were going to provide on the, what would that be, the northern side of the property near the existing house, and keep everything out of the wetland resource area, buffer zones. So when we took that to planning board, they asked us to show or demonstrate that we could obtain an order of conditions using accessing from our legal frontage. So that's kind of what we're here tonight for. So this would be a driveway coming off of East County Road and accessing the buildable portion of the site on the back. We did keep all of the work for the driveway outside of the 25-foot wetland buffer. And these wetlands are flagged by EcoCheck, environmental consultant, in October of 21.
Did we ever do a site walk for this? I don't remember either
I
way.
don't think so.
I don't think we did.
I don't remember this one. I don't remember us walking it.
All right, so, well, we've got, I mean, this is the submission, so you're on the calendar for 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today? That's right, because it's 28 days half February. So why don't we try and schedule a site walk so we can look at the flagging, look at the project. I will say that start of the driveway looks a bit steep. Am I wrong?
Yeah, we kept the slopes under 10% or at 10% max. It is a 40 scale drawing, so
Right.
one for this.
And frankly, slope of the driveway is not our jurisdiction, but it's just something for us to keep in mind as we're evaluating the site.
Right.
Do we dare try Saturday? I don't know that the snow's going to be gone.
Could try. Then if we have to reschedule, we just reschedule it.
Oh, I'm not available Saturday. Doesn't mean you guys can't do it.
I'm not either.
Oh.
All right. Then let's, how about March 4? Our usual 10 a.m.?
I should be able to make that work.
This is what, 315, right?
Yep.
This is 315.
Yes.
Yeah, it is East County, okay. All right, you're submitted. We have a site walk scheduled for a week from Saturday. All we have to do is remember. And then we'll hold the hearing in 2 weeks. Or at least start the hearing, I should say, in 2 weeks. I can't promise we'll be done.
Very good, appreciate it.
Right, thanks very much.
Have a good night.
You too. So now, I'm going to continue the hearing that we opened and just continued last time for CV Blair Development at 311 Pleasantdale Road. And if I've done this right, that's the correct plan.
Correct. So, what we have is a single-family home proposed on this lot. And I guess if I go up there, I can probably point out. We got some comments from, there's a stream here, river here, and the comments we got from the DEP were keep everything, don't do anything in the 100-foot, completely untouched. That's this line here, and that's how it'll work. So we were able to fit everything, sliding it towards lot number 7. We will be going to the planning board to have the lot reconfigured, because now they're rectangular, but now I gotta put a little jig and a jog in it, so.
Right, right.
As far as wetlands, we've got a complete 100-foot untouched corridor, and everything worked out.
And there's even only the driveways in the 100.
And only,
A portion of the
little
driveways in the
portion.
100, yeah.
so we were fortunate enough to be able to, that we had access to be able to slide it that way to make it all work.
Right, so I assume you shifted that, the adjacent, the
Actually,
butters.
when we did that one, it was held over to that side, so that worked out.
Ah,
pretty
okay.
well. It all worked out.
I'm only picking up my phone because Melissa texted me. Huh. Is she right? Is this stamped by a mechanical engineer?
Yes, Doug Best, who's a professional Massachusetts licensed engineer who's been doing stuff in this town for, I would say, 25 years, maybe more.
Yeah, it's his stamp.
Yep, sure enough. Melissa apologizes for not being here, of course. The lot line change, proposed lot line
Yeah.
change, did or did that not impact abutters for notification purposes?
It doesn't impact the butters. A Form A doesn't require a butters to be notified, and we are the abutter. Blair is the abutter. So, he owns 150 acres all around us.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm not even going to ask when the big project's going to be. I know we
it's on
don't.
the table. Only do so much.
She's saying that she doesn't see a new alternatives analysis.
I believe I might have written there is no other alternative other than don't build on this lot. That's, we pushed it, twisted it, turned it, split it.
But you can't just turn it 90 degrees and have them drive right into the house?
We could, but it's not gonna change because we had the septic. The septic has to be where it
Right,
is.
right.
We're really limited to our configuration.
And does there need to be an update to the resource area impact?
There
This
is,
survey.
there is less impact.
Well, I was going to say, that it's less than it was in the
Way less
previous
than it was.
version.
We've got the complete 100-foot corridor untouched. So,
I think if they had stayed with the original plan, that's what would have kicked in all of the other requirements, the alternative and everything else, if they wanted to stay with the original plan. So technically, this is the alternative.
It really is.
The original plan could be considered an
It
alternative.
really,
Right.
yeah, it really is, because, well, I thought he sold that other lot, and it's, no, still a good thing. But you would add an issue, a major issue.
How much did it reduce? Well,
It didn't, the lots were oversized,
ah,
so we had plenty of room, and the way we're gonna do it is what we take from this side, we're gonna add to that side, so they're gonna stay equal. 'Cause they're long, deep lots, they're like
Right.
450 feet deep. And the usable piece of this property is right along Pleasantdale, because then it goes way up a hill. So,
questions, comments, anyone? Commission?
No?
I've got a couple.
Please.
Actually, going to the one, was that Melissa's comment about the impact areas on the form
Yes.
need to be updated? I noticed the same thing. I think, Julian, I think you still have the old numbers in there.
I think we might have sent that. It's on the page 3 of 9.
Yes, because it still shows alteration within the first 100 feet, which you don't have anymore.
Let me see if I have it with me. I thought we emailed it to Tamika, but I may have.
We may not have the latest version, that's right.
I know we did it because I sent it to the DEP.
Well, the NOI was just uploaded today, so, and I didn't open it, so let me,
Was it? I wasn't here last week, so it may not have, but I know we did it.
So the main reason I'm asking about that is up to 10% of the riverfront area
Yeah.
can be altered, but I'm not sure what that percentage is, because the numbers are the old numbers.
Let me see if we add that to this.
unfortunately, I can't do a text search. This is an image.
Yeah, I think it's the same one I have, Peter. I think it's the old numbers.
Do you remember what page it's on, Jared?
Yeah,
3 of 9.
yes. 3 of 9 of WPA 22. So, go back. Keep going back one more page, I think. Should be one page back. Right there.
There you go.
I'm assuming these are
Right.
old numbers, because the square feet within 100 feet should now be 0.
Right.
Right? Because there's no alteration in the first 100. So the total area, I don't know if that number is still correct either, because if you guys are changing the lot shape, that might change a little
But
bit too.
that's still, no, that part of the lot's staying.
It is, okay.
Yeah. So we take a 948 out of the 1162.
Is the 9,480 still current? Is that accurate?
That's what was in the 100 foot. Now we have nothing in the 100 foot.
Right.
0.
So between 100 and 200 feet, you can alter up to 10% of the riverfront area on the lot. That's what I want to get to, is that, we need that
Oh.
confirmed,
Okay.
to make sure that it's not more than 10%, because that's all that's allowed.
Okay.
'Cause
Is
you've
that
got-
10% in the area of work or 10% on the property?
It's 10% on the whole property.
Oh, okay.
So you take the riverfront area on that parcel,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that total is, whether it's still 74,000 and change, maybe it's slightly different, I don't know. 10% of that can be altered. But to allow that, you also need to have the 100-foot wide undisturbed area, which they are
Right.
proposing now, so that's
We
good.
have that.
So that, check on that. One of the other requirements is to meet the stormwater standards. I did not see anything on the plans dealing with any.
Even though it's a
stormwater
single-family home?
I'd love to have Melissa confirm this, but I don't think that matters when it's riverfront. I don't think it's exempt.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
She did mention that briefly at the last
She
meeting, but I
did.
don't remember the full context of it.
She
so I
did.
didn't wanna-
So I'll read it verbatim from the regs, as I was looking at these early, because I had to remind myself, because it's been a while since I've done a riverfront project. It says stormwater, let me read back, go back a little bit. Within 200-foot riverfront areas, we, the issuing authority, Concom, can allow alteration up to 10% of the riverfront area, provided that, and then there's a bunch of requirements. First one is 100-foot wide undisturbed area. We got that, so we're good there. Second one is stormwater is managed according to standards established by the department in its stormwater policy. I read that as follow the stormwater standards.
I rebut on that one, that the very first one, it was a single-family home, is exempt from stormwater.
I don't think it is
So-
if you have riverfront.
If you're a riverfront.
Yeah. I think that changes it. Again, I'd love to get Melissa's
So
take on
we'll
that.
figure
but-
that out, that's not a problem.
You've got your erosion controls, that's another requirement, so I think you satisfy that one. The only other one I wanted to
Limit of
mention,
work.
and this is more for us.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what the limit of work, I mean, I
Limit of
can
work
see
is
the
right
erosion
there.
control
Yeah,
on two
and limit of
sides.
work are the same.
It's
stuff.
just outside the 100-foot riverfront, the erosion control line.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay there. And then the only other one I wanted to mention, this is more for us as a commission. I want to make sure we all were aware of it, because again, I had forgotten about this myself. Provided that proposed work doesn't impact the, basically providing wildlife habitat functions. And it's not required, but the regs say that we could require, if we wanted to, a wildlife habitat evaluation, whether we feel that's necessary or not. It's not required under the regs, it's basically up to us if we were to require or not require that. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned it.
There's nothing showing up on that on the endangered species.
There's no
maps.
endangered species here. No.
No, I checked that too, I didn't see anything.
So,
Yes, sir.
Just a quick one. You're just trying to make sure he complies with the River Protection Act, the river, which one, the river, what do they call that?
Yeah,
This is also part of wetlands.
No, but it's got a name. It's
it
a-
does. It's the, yeah, Rivers Protection Act.
Rivers Protection Act. Then, yeah, just want to make sure I understood, that's all.
Yep.
I hadn't heard you say it, and I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, Terry?
That's all I have.
Other questions from the commission?
No.
I'll open to the public. Anyone have questions or comments on this application? All right, hearing nothing, because we're waiting for stormwater and we're waiting for the new council.
we're gonna see if we need to do stormwater.
Yep.
Right, we're waiting for an understanding
If
of
we
that.
need it, we'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll determine that. And then the percentage in the 200-foot zone.
Yep.
And then the last one is this board going to require a wildlife
I don't think so.
study that,
On a single family
This
house.
close to the road?
On a single family house lot?
I personally, am no expert in wildlife habitat, but to me, it doesn't feel like the type of project that would need that.
I think the size, scope, and location,
Right. Negate that.
yeah, they indicate that it's not necessary for this filing.
And like I said, the regs don't require it.
Right.
It just offers it as an option to the issuing authority.
Yep.
Basically saying, it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And in truth, if we were within that 100 to the river, I think I would
Right.
require it.
Yes.
Less.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we got two things, stormwater and that.
Percentage.
Yes.
Okay, we can do that,
Okay.
easy enough.
Like a motion to continue to... Gosh, why didn't I have this right? Oh, March 7, I should have known that because it's the same as February.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion, to continue the hearing to March 7th.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Gentillucci, aye.
Langer, aye.
Elk aye.
Crane, aye.
Thank you.
Great.
Perfect.
Have a good
This
night.
is so much better than the, oh, I don't know that we can do this that we had in the last plan.
Oh, we could do it.
Oh, alrighty, let's see. Come here, little cursor. That one's done, that one's done. All right, we have question about proposed work at 74 Woodside Ave. Oh,
Don't see.
Carson, hold on. There's something that we didn't do on 315 East County. This was clocked in last week. So with us not meeting for 2 more weeks, we're going to exceed the 21 day. The applicant has signed the extension. We just need to vote it.
Okay.
So I'd like a motion to approve the extension for the hearing for 315 East County Road.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Peter.
Good job, Skip. Good job, Skip. You did great.
Roll call.
Lanker and I.
Gentilucci.
Doppel eye.
Crane eye. I'm glad I remembered that. Ever so slightly too late. Now we're going to discuss about proposed work at 74 Woodside. Is anyone here to talk about 74 Woodside? Fantastic. We did get your letter. So why don't you talk us through it? And I do have some maps that we can throw up there also.
Okay, perfect. So basically, we're just looking to get the backyard filled in between the drop off from where Blair's kind of ended it to the that black tarp. It's like the wetlands line or the 25 or 100 feet line, I believe. So we're just looking to get that filled in, and there are like a few like or trees that are will need to be cut for that filling in. One of them is kind of hanging over on the house, and we talked to Blair about that before, and all they did was trim a few branches, but it didn't really make any difference. So we were thinking if we're going to cut the ones that are on the property, in front of the line, we might as well cut that one as well. But yes, so from the looks of that map, I believe
Go right up, point it up.
Yeah.
so, okay, so this is the erosion line, which is that the black tarp that's there? if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken?
That's
Okay.
correct. So the dotted and dashed line with all the WFs on it,
Yeah.
that's the edge of the wetland.
Okay, okay. So, so what we were planning to do, this is the home. I believe it's here because there is a let out drainage. Okay, so this is the drainage that lets out here. So we're planning to, if possible, fill in between here and here. And there are 2 trees that's within that zone there. That if we fill it in with the dirt, it could rot and eventually fall. So we're planning to get that cut. And then there's one tree on the side here. It's basically on the line, on the erosion line, and that one is hanging over. I have pictures of that as well. So I'm not. That's what we're proposing, or I'm not sure how the conservation is with. We're not planning to go behind this line, but I'm not sure about that erosion line. That's
Right, so,
But the erosion line was just laid in that way to.
No, I don't think so.
how old is this house now?
not-
Do we know, I was gonna ask, when was the,
What's the date on that?
Certificate of compliance, is that what you're asking for, Peter?
well, the COC or actually the orders?
Yeah.
How old are our orders? Yeah, from
That was
18.
18.
Even with tolling, I think it
vaguely
exceeds.
remember walking this one when the
Oh, yeah.
requests came in, because there were a couple that came in around the same time. So not that long ago.
So the reason I'm asking the question that I'm asking is when Blair built this house, because there are wetlands, he needed to come and submit the same thing that you just saw submitted, a notice of intent. And through that, we issued an order of conditions that said, yes, you can do your project, here are the conditions you need to meet to make that happen. Those have a 3-year lifespan. And so if you were within 3 years, we could have a discussion about fitting it under that, under those orders, as long as you don't go beyond that erosion control line.
That assumes the order is still
Well, that
active,
erosion,
right?
Right.
is that erosion controlling also the limit of work?
So you were actually blocking my view, I'm sorry. When you were saying between here and here you wanted to fill, so if you could just point it out again, standing to the side so I can see it. So he wants to go right close, really close to the wetlands beyond the erosion control line.
Yeah, but, yeah, that line could not.
But you want to go behind? It's in front.
Sorry, maybe I misspoke. The erosion control line is the black tar?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, okay, sorry, I am not going behind the erosion.
Okay.
Okay, I thought the black tar was here and this was a drop off, because there is a drop off
Yeah.
between the black tar
Oh, yeah.
and our, so I thought that was this. Actually, I won't go behind the erosion control line. That was, yes, we're not planning to go behind that. It's,
If you look at that, come down from the erosion control line to that curved line,
this one here?
come
Or
down
this?
right there, that line there,
Yes.
is that where your drop off is?
Possibly.
Drop off is probably a little closer to the house.
Well,
Because that's just the topo line, right? I mean, that's,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
lines are
is-
far apart, that means the grade is relatively gentle.
Right.
Yeah.
So the drop off on the right
Right.
where it gets kind of at the curve where the lines
Yeah.
are close together,
Yeah.
that's a definite drop off.
Right.
Where it's over here where the lines are far apart, that's much
Right.
more gradual slope.
You gotta look at it, we gotta go look at it anyways.
Yeah, that'd be the easiest thing
It's
to
the
do.
easiest to look at it and see where he's gonna be.
We can go over there during, is anybody available during the day?
Yeah, we are.
Because we can go over there anytime you want. You gonna be around? No?
Gee, what a shock, he's going on vacation. Huh.
Are you back from vacation?
Maybe he's working.
My computer goes with
So
me.
I have
That's
a
right.
photo, it
That's
could
working,
show
working remote.
at least the distance. It's a couple feet. It gets smaller as it goes around, which
I think they
makes
just have
me
to
think,
see it.
yeah, it's
It's,
could be this one.
it should be that one.
Yes, because yeah, there's a big space here and it goes gets smaller and
Yeah.
smaller. So yeah, it would be to fill in up to the erosion control line or before it. And there's, like I said, 2 trees on this side
Mhm.
that would get cut. The other trees are about on the erosion control line.
Yeah.
So we can get cut as well.
Have we issued a certificate of compliance on this lot yet?
Probably. They're living in it.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, that's not as meaningful
I
as
said
I would like it to
probably.
be.
You gotta look at it anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but typically when they finish the back side like that, they don't,
Yeah.
the original topo lines are usually pretty good because they don't do
You were
more
on
than
tomorrow
they need
afternoon?
to.
Like 4:30.
Huh?
You were on tomorrow afternoon at like 4:30.
I'll be home.
Can we come by tomorrow at 4:30? I'll grab him on the way home from work
Yeah.
and we'll just poke. I'll look at,
Please.
I'll come grab,
Or, you gonna come by?
I'll come grab you at 4:30 and we'll go over there.
All right, we'll see you at 4:30 tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, you, and now, let's just talk a little bit more what happens beyond here so that we all understand.
Leave your shovel in the garage.
What's that?
Do you have the order?
Not here, I have to look them up. I'll find them, and I know I can find them.
All right.
Okay,
Shoot us
Because
an email.
it's 2018, yeah, so we can definitely get them.
right.
So one of the first things that we have to decide is what filing, what paperwork we need. And we don't know the answer to that yet. We have to do a little more research about all the paperwork that's already been filed on this property. And then we look at all of our options, and we try and figure out what's going to be best. I mean, it's gonna be the amount of fill, how close you are to the wetlands, which again, since you're limiting yourself to the current erosion control lines, it's not, it's entirely feasible that we would say we just gotta get enough paperwork in
Right.
with the right conditions to make sure that everything's fine.
As far as the trees, if it's a hazardous tree, we'll look at it tomorrow.
Okay.
Hazardous trees, we can let you do.
Okay.
If you're afraid of hitting the house, that's, but
Yeah, we don't, waiting for paperwork when a tree's gonna hit your house, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, but we'll look at it
It's not a
tomorrow.
good plan. So, the first thing I'd say is, we're not opposed, nothing here screams at us, don't do this. We have to figure out the paperwork and the right filing, and what the complete, once we know the paperwork, we know the process. And then go forth, fill out, and we'll figure it out from there.
Okay.
All right?
I just think of one question, Peter.
Yes.
Probably helpful to ask now. The trees you want to remove, do you plan to just cut them down, leave the stumps, or do you plan to pull the stumps out? And the roots and all that?
We haven't thought about that. The only thing we discussed with the contract that's gonna cut it down is just using the wood chips to then fill in the line.
Okay.
But if we're required to take out the stump, then we would.
Well, no, it's better if you,
It's actually better
if you don't
It's
take
less
it out.
Okay, it's less
Yes.
expensive too.
Less,
That
less
too.
paperwork too.
Okay.
Less on all fronts.
Yeah.
Less money.
When you
to the
start
contractors.
pulling it out, disturbing the ground,
It's soil, it's earth, it's dirt disturbance that really is where we start getting involved, because, you know, so the fence you're talking about putting in, I mean, yeah, we'll mention it in the paperwork, but we're not gonna spend a lot of time considering, because you're gonna dig a post hole,
Yeah.
fill it, and be done. It's not, there isn't enough movement of material for us to be concerned
Yeah.
with. I mean, unless you're gonna do it right on those wetland flags, then we might have a viewer, but you were gonna do it in the front of the property, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I don't see,
are you putting in a chain link or a post and
A
rail?
privacy 6-inch.
A privacy
Around
fence?
6 foot.
yeah,
Does that,
But
but
Jared,
still it's posts.
does that require the clearance underneath?
For animals?
Critters,
Yeah, for
yeah.
wildlife? You're not closing it all the way around the property.
No.
It's just
it's
one
just
line
the
in the
back,
front.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. No, I don't think it would.
No.
So we'll need to get, over time, with the paperwork, as a full description of all the work you plan to do, so that we can make sure that nobody has surprises. That's,
Okay.
I can't tell you how often I get phone calls because,
Nobody over there would say anything to anybody about anybody else doing something. Not in that neighborhood. You know, it's like Mayberry over there.
all right. You understand? I think I'm trying to make clear what the process is.
What, Joe?
Okay, great. Then they'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Jared and I may drop by some other time, but we'll check on you first.
Yeah.
We have your phone.
I'll do my usual, send pictures and write.
If you can send me the order of conditions. I can
In his free time,
give
he's
them a
gonna
copy
get
that
that.
way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good night.
Oh,
I'm like
all right.
99% sure we got a certificate of compliance request on this one.
Yeah, because it was,
It was this one,
yeah,
across the street,
because
and I
of-
just don't
it's because
remember,
of the pipe.
I just don't remember if we, I feel like when we first got it, it was middle of winter, some of the grass still needed to be stabilized. I just don't remember where we ended up with it. Because it was a few years ago.
Yeah, it's long enough ago that we should refresh anyway.
Yeah.
Next on our agenda, Mr. Buckley, thank you for coming by and talking about the parking in the driveway now. I have to go hunting for the map you sent last time.
Ill prepared.
Yes, I'm
Let me push the
I
button.
am incredibly unprepared tonight. That's, it's all right, I don't mind, go ahead, pick on me, I'm used to it by now.
What were you planning on doing on the side of that to try to stabilize it? You got a significant amount of fill going in there.
What do you,
I'm talking about the roadway.
I have no, which road, the one we wanted to put in?
Yeah.
Before I forget, let me just go through a couple things, please. So, we met with the Commonwealth during the final design stages of that chunk of 56. And we met with their design team from Boston. And we went around with 2 or 3 different designs to try and save the parking at the ball field. And they didn't really like it. They really consider it dangerous where cars back out, they could hit a kid or hit somebody, especially with the addition of bike lanes. They strongly suggested we eliminate the parking as part of that pending design and construction just started. This idea came to the table because we don't have any budget to address parking for the ball field. We have no capital plan to support any of that at all. And we figured there'd be a good amount of fill coming off of in association with the construction, because they have to excavate for new drainage, they have to excavate to widen the road. So chances are there'd be a good amount of fill generated as part of the project. So that was the impetus to say, okay, what could we do with the fill? And we decided we could try and start to fill in some of that area to eventually develop a road to go out back behind the ball field, where we took and used some other construction spoils to build that small parking area out back. As for stabilizing it, we're not there yet. We're hoping to just clear some trees where we'd like to put the road in and walk it. That's our goal.
Okay, I was operating on the assumption you were going to use it immediately afterwards.
No. We're going to do what we want to have an area for, as the fill becomes available from the construction on Palmagussit, we want to eventually use it to construct a road to go around the backside of the ball field. And we wanted to get some preliminary approval to get started on that. We don't have a good formal design or sections or anything like that, no.
Okay, so my question still stands then as to what keeps that in place in the interim?
They're just gonna cut trees for now. They're not filling it. They're gonna stockpile it out back. So until
you're
they,
not gonna
Oh, no,
lay
we
in
put it
place?
in.
are you gonna put it in now?
We put it in there. We put it
Yeah,
in
why
place
would
to store it.
you have it twice? I
I don't know.
Yeah, we just store it.
Yeah, so the only thing is just to eliminate, to
No, we'd store it in.
eliminate the question of erosion, and sedimentation.
Well, you just
That's
build
really
you just
Yeah.
probably just build a pond to store, so that if it runs off, you
Right.
manage it. That's all. Like you'd manage any other big pile of dirt.
Right, but where would that run to? That would run down into that wetland resource, into that drainage area. And that's the thing that might be, raise some eyebrows.
Well, we just have to use some good common sense, best management practices. You'd have to make sure that, you
Yeah,
put in trench.
Joe, I'm not saying no.
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm not saying any of that. What I'm
You just want to make sure it's going to happen.
Common sense is an oxymoron, as we
I
all
understand.
know. But the thing is, the thing that we would like to see as a conservation commission is not to see erosion and sedimentation. All right, and that would be our primary concern, and that would be, a concerned citizen calling DEP or calling us and
No,
raising
I
that, that question. I understand you're working with no budget.
Right.
Maybe we can get wood chips or something donated, but, something to that effect, just to lay it down there and at least give it some measure of stability.
It drops off quite a bit.
Yeah, I know.
We looked at the drainage that comes off of Palmagussit and the drainage that comes off the backside of the ball field. This one, they must have a spring or something tied in from Palmagussit, because that never stops running. That one will
So
eventually.
that's that water pipe. No, you've got flow there, it's continuous. How that's classified.
It's technically an outfall, it's a drainage outfall? It's
Yeah,
not really a
technically,
stream?
but if it runs continuous, I don't know. I don't think you're gonna get much off the ball field.
You do get some off that back corner. You do get a good amount of water off that back corner.
Hmm.
It meanders all over the place. We could put something together, at least write it down for you, so you have something when we get to that point.
Yeah, if we could just scratch it out
Yeah.
on a drawing.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I did send a drawing. I didn't put.
Well, that's what I'm saying, scratch it out on that drawing.
Oh, yeah.
Just to-
That doesn't do it justice.
Hmm.
Yeah, it gives you a hint.
That's all, yeah.
I had no idea, I'll be honest with you, when we first started talking about it, I thought the drop-off was significantly less than what it is.
Oh, no, it's
No,
severe.
that's
Yeah,
a big drop.
It's quite the drop, yeah.
Going over the sewer easement's gonna be a challenge too. Just getting into that lowland is gonna be, and we don't have any idea what kind of, volume of fill we're gonna be taking on either.
Yeah, or what
I
it
mean-
actually is.
Believe it or not, Palmagussit was a county road, and it has a lot of native gravel in it. We saw that when we excavated for the water main that you think might be still leaking.
Nice.
So, it has, I wanna say as much as 2 feet of native gravel in it. They did not cheap out on that road, no way. So, I don't think you're gonna get a lot of clay or silts or something like that. You'd have to.
Well, the thing was, when they did the excavation for the culvert for the rail trail,
Right.
there was all kinds of stuff that came out of there. That was nasty.
Oh, I bet.
Hmm.
But that was filled over after the rail line shut down.
Right.
You know, the road didn't exist there. And it was, I guess, whatever was at hand filled it.
It's not that uncommon. It's not that uncommon. So that's it,
Yeah.
basically what we want to do. But we can write out some processes when we're closer and get them to you. That's fine.
Yeah, you know, I would really
wish
like to
we
see
had-
something just to cover us as far as erosion control and sedimentation. I mean, that, so that we have some thing that says, okay, Mr. Buckley, you're all set, or okay, Mr. Buckley, we
Yeah,
need a little more.
We just finished doing stormwater controls behind DPW. They've all been updated, and we can manage a lot of the stuff from our own gravel, but I don't want to put it back there, only because why would you handle it twice?
Yeah,
Right.
why handle it twice? I mean,
Why
you're working on
handle it
no
twice?
budget.
Right.
Every time you touch it, you.
Yeah, so, we don't know what kind of volume they're gonna generate. We wanna do, 1,000 feet of road, we might end up with 2.
Right.
It's-
Well,
But we wanted to make sure you folks knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can write some stuff down when we get a little closer.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and the other piece of us taking a walk out there is to see what some of if there are actually streams over here.
A lot of it's drainage
Yeah.
that's in there.
There is drainage, but it meanders all over the place.
Yeah.
you know, a lot of it runs out behind the lots, going down miles, and
Yeah.
ends up down below.
Like I said, we're just trying to take advantage of the fill. If
Yep.
we can get it, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's free, it's for me, right?
Well, pretty much, and it's right there near their site, so if you can keep it here, close to their site, it keeps the project moving along quicker.
Well, it cuts the cost too, you're trucking it.
I'm not paying for that part.
Well, not you,
Them.
That is
Let somebody
actually,
from the state pick up some more.
that's a federally funded project. That's a tip job.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a transportation improvement project, so it's still your tax dollars, just way up the chain.
Right.
when it's all done, is Mayor Pete gonna cut the ribbon?
Oh, I don't know. It's 2 years, Excuse me, two and a half, start to finish.
Mm. Okay.
So,
I'd say that's kind of
Every-
quick, actually, given the federal involvement.
does that include the dam?
Yeah.
That's probably all.
The dam.
The road itself, yeah, it's work. The walls, yeah.
The walls are involved, but we just worked with them to change the specification of the walls, so I think they're gonna go in faster than originally thought. They're gonna be block walls, not all that dissimilar from the ones on Maple. And those are actually a little bit cheaper, so we were able to get them to do more walls than less that way, and they go in quicker.
So
Yeah,
what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing anybody saying, no, Joe, don't do that.
No.
Oh, nobody's saying that.
Everybody's saying, let's just make
Why
sure
don't
we
you,
get.
why don't we do a couple things? We want to at least cut like maybe 50 or, a few hundred feet in from Palmagussit. And once we get that done, you can walk.
Yeah.
We know the stone wall's there. We know there's recent survey for the abutter. So we should be able to develop a pretty good line.
Right.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
You like the concept?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you have any questions.
I'm just waiting to see what happens when the first ball by hit by one of these monster kids who just knocks it over and takes out a window on a car.
We don't have any other place to put them.
I know. I
Yeah,
know. There's nothing else to do.
Well, the thing is, I'm glad to see that parking lot go away, because every
It's
time I go
dangerous.
by that,
Yep.
It is.
It's
and
dangerous.
especially when the kids are playing, there's kids running in and out between the cars.
I think we're gonna keep a couple spaces along, parallel with the road, but the bulk of it, and there's a new sidewalk going on.
Right.
I can go now.
Randy.
Oh, I guess Randy's done with the select board.
Yep.
So why don't we do this? We'll clear the, we'll clear some space for you guys to walk it.
Mhm.
After you walk it, we'll try and get you something.
Great.
to give a reference. If anything else comes up, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly will. Thank you very much.
We'll be in
Oh.
your office tomorrow morning sometime.
I won't, but go ahead.
You were mentioning another culvert, on, what you said,
Yes, we're gonna do one more on what you said.
filled the same way as the last ones.
It's a different construction in the sense that it's a 36, the other ones were like oval shaped on purpose. This
Mhm.
one's actually still round, but the bottom's gone. And it's about 15 to 20 feet down. So it's the same type of liner we're gonna use. It's a UV activated liner so that it doesn't, there's no chemical or resin that would affect the water going through it, so. And the road will remain open during construction.
Even better.
Mm-hmm.
Those projects are being funded with RAP money,
Mhm.
Winter Recovery Act funds, and we haven't seen those in the municipal setting in some time. If we have anything left, we're gonna try and patch some of that big settlement that's on what you said. But that'll be the three major culverts, starting at the Princeton line,
Mhm.
going forward, will be good for the next 50 years. So.
Nice.
Can you guys look at the other ones?
It's a neat.
Yeah?
It's a neat process. It really is.
It is. The road doesn't close.
No.
Anyways.
Great. Anything else we should know?
No.
He's
Not that I
not.
can
He's not
think of.
sharing anything.
What aren't you, well, I was gonna say, what aren't you telling us that we really need to know that you don't want us to know, Joe?
I can't think of anything. I
Good
wish-
answer.
I wish we could do some more stormwater work, but that's currently not funded either. I'd like to see some more progress with that, but
Yeah.
eventually,
One way or another.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're not doing as bad as some towns.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
All
All right,
right.
guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Have a good night.
Oh, there was one other thing.
Uh-huh.
Oh, just one little
That's
thing.
oh, by the way, we've all heard that one.
No, we have some more water construction planned for the spring, but the plans aren't done. We had to shift where we're going. Originally, we're headed back into the Edson Inwood area,
Mhm.
but we've had so many breaks on miles. We're gonna try and do that first 1,000 feet of pipe to support those houses there.
Mhm.
That, they keep losing water. So when we had all the big breaks a couple of years ago, we added 3 insertion valves, so we can isolate the breaks a little better.
Right.
Because the valves on the original equipment had failed. But we're still getting breaks in that short run. So we're gonna try at a minimum and replace that piece from roughly miles to, I can't remember.
Pump station? That must be 1,000
That's a
feet.
lot more than 1,000 feet. So on miles from Palmagussit to Millbrook, or?
Yeah. Yep, the cut
Yeah,
through.
all right.
Yeah,
To the driveway.
Yep.
To the driveway, and then at least those houses will all have water.
Yep.
That's the plan. So then if
I'm
we
one
do
of
get
those.
what?
I'm one of those houses.
Good. So that way, if we get another failure, we can at least, between there and say Devereaux, we can shut it off.
Right.
We can, after we finish fixing that other, the one in Palmagussit, we can feed that whole area with water with just what we have in Palmagussit. Ideally, we want both, but we can't afford to put a new water main the entire length from Palmagussit down miles all the way back through Devereaux. We just don't have it. But we're gonna do that first 1,000 feet, hopefully this spring.
Same company?
It's a bid job, it hasn't gone out yet. It may not be, who knows? All right, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Returning to our agenda ever so briefly, Melissa's not here, so we're not going to talk about the job description of the conservation agent, and I have done zero work on wetlands bylaw, so we're not going to say anything about that tonight. But we have gotten an email, so I'd like a motion to add an agenda item for, I'm thinking it's 74 Paddock. There's a lot on Paddock Road.
21.
21, thank you. I don't know where's, oh, that's why,
Is that yours?
74
That's good,
Woodside. So I'd like a motion to add that to the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to add 21 Paddock Road to our agenda.
Second.
Roll call?
Don't lie.
Langer, 9.
Gentilucci, aye.
Crane, aye.
I've
Let's,
got a question. That, if memory serves me correctly, and sometimes it doesn't, in fact, more often than not, it doesn't. But
I
we
resemble that
did
remark.
we did some lots down there. And it was right around, I want to say 22, was it? I think it was you and I went down.
I know we did stuff, I don't really remember. I
And
do,
the
I
house was
don't.
already built. The house has already been built on that one. We issued an order of conditions on that.
Well, why don't we just start with this and go from there?
But I'm wondering, is this part of that same, is this a break off from that lot?
No, this one was sectioned off in like 1963.
Okay. Well, there's a bunch of lots down there that date way back.
Yeah, well, so there's the one that's got the CS Mills sign in front of it, the little white house that's got a bunch of outbuildings.
Okay.
That's the one to the right of 21.
okay,
And the property, there's a stone wall between that and my parcel, and then there's 400 feet of frontage or something on it.
Okay, but that lot was established in 63.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And that takes, it gives you a break, actually,
Hmm.
on
So-
some of the regs.
so please introduce yourself and give us an overview of this, and let's have a
Okay.
chat.
So, my name's Greg Miser. I bought this lot about 2 years ago. It's a little bit undersized for the 1.5 acre, the 60,000 square feet. I'm a little bit under. I just went through ZBA and we got that sorted out last month. I'm talking to a builder, Gordon Olin, who's saying, well, because the house placement is within the 100-foot barrier, I need to get Concom sign off on this. So I talked to Tamika this morning. She said, well, I can't be at the meeting tonight. I can't get you on tonight's agenda, but at least I'll be able to tell you what we need to do paperwork-wise so I can get heard next time in 2 weeks.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
did she send you, oh yeah, that's it right there.
You have a question up front?
Well, I had my hand up when you were talking about when it was on the agenda, the bylaws, so I'll wait till the end. I'll just make sure my hand's up.
Okay.
You can put your hand down.
Put your hand down.
Okay.
Okay.
And one of these guys will remind me
Yes.
to talk to you rather than, so, back to this property.
Okay. So, Paddock Road's on the right side of the map there.
Yep.
The abutter property at the top is where his driveway is, just on the other side of, yep, right where your cursor is. So we've got a raised septic system, a Presby up on the corner, and then you got the gray box where the proposed house placement is,
Right.
right there. And you can see the dotted line, the 100-foot, nope, that's the silt fence
That's
up
right,
above
that's a
the
little
property.
bit more.
Is the 100-foot.
Oh, here it is, the
Yeah,
100
so there's the
here.
100-foot buffer. So it's just inside the 100-foot buffer where the house basically has to go to get off the road.
Right, so the septic's all out, oh, the well's down here, obviously a driveway.
Yeah, the only question would be right there. What's that distance?
Right. Do you happen to know the distance?
I do not.
I mean, that looks like an adjustable line anyway.
Yeah, it probably is. So,
I don't see any major heartburn there.
I don't see our problem, but I think we have to go the NOI route.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, gotta have
yeah, again, the only other place that's getting pretty close is this distance right here.
Yep.
We try to keep a 15-foot no touch between any work and the wetlands.
Okay.
Now,
But that's just a silt fence. Are you using that silt fence as a limit of work?
At this point, I don't even know. It's all early stages. I mean, anything here is fungible, so, you know, we need to move the silt fence or whatever, it's,
okay.
nothing's, I mean, other than the perk test holes, nothing's been done on the site.
Right.
So I was, when I talked to the engineer, I said, you know, I'd like to have a little, because it's pretty flat behind the house there, I'd like to have a, you know, a space for a little bit of a backyard, but,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it doesn't have to go all the way back to the wetlands, of course.
Who did the flagging?
Ecotech?
They're usually pretty conservative.
Yeah. But if it's already flagged, should we just go out there on the same Saturday we're going out to that other site?
Do that.
Did he tell you, did Ecotech tell you that you should be filing an NOI on that?
We did that, we did the wetland survey way back when we first bought the lot, so it's conversation's 2 years old, I can't remember exactly what he said.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
So Jay Finley's the one who did the engineering and the design and the septic plan. And so I left him a message today, because the builder said, yeah, we need the Concom. I called Jay, because supposedly he would get me some paperwork, but I talked to Tamika, she said, you guys would tell me exactly what I needed to get done.
Yeah. Well, not talking for Peter, but I think that's gonna need what they call a notice of intent.
Okay.
And we'll go through the hearing process. Are you looking to break ground fairly soon?
Not as, I mean, I'd like to do it this spring, but
Okay.
no, not next week.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, if you did an NOI and got it to us, and we were looking at what, how many weeks, Peter? before?
So if it were submitted in 2, we'd have a hearing in 4. So we could if we got all the paperwork in time, it's all gonna, believe it or not, I think the biggest holdup will end up being, well, no, I don't think it'll. DEP might be the biggest holdup for finishing the hearing, but for starting the hearing, it's getting the paperwork and getting the notice in the newspaper, because that's almost a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So Tamika can talk you through that particular piece, but when you're ready to move on this, I mean, we can, if we go out and do a site walk in a couple weeks, then we will be well prepared with understanding the site. And once we understand the site, we know it's, and you have a plan that you're going to use, we can say, this is what you need to do to make that plan right. And that's what our orders of conditions are.
Right. So what do I need to bring to you in 2 weeks when we meet again?
And just do the submission.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I mean, this is a good map. I mean, it's
Yeah, all he needs is the NOI.
Yeah.
Just fill out the NOI.
yeah, just fill out the form.
Form for the NOI.
Submit some money to the state and to the town,
Yeah.
and to the telegram, and off we go.
I was gonna say, there are butter notifications too that have to be done.
Well, that's true. Tamika knows.
Yeah,
Yep.
she knows that whole.
Can you
process.
tell that we depend on Tamika for everything?
So I need NOI and I need a butter.
Yep.
Okay.
A short
Well,
title.
that would be included with the NOI, that's
Okay.
paperwork.
All right.
Yep.
If you talk to Ecotech, would you have Ecotech do the NOI for you?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, Ecotech or Finley would be the ones who've developed this part, so.
So,
They totally understand the
Yeah.
process.
Right.
Mhm.
right, looking at this, we don't see anything strongly objectionable. If we, even if something were less than 15 feet, we've approved those, we just note them more than anything.
Yeah, if you walk around back there, it's not wet, it's just basically identified it by vegetation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
We'll see what it's like when all the snow melts this year.
Yeah.
So,
Wetlands line.
yeah, we don't see anything strongly, I don't say anything that says, no, this shouldn't be done. Yeah, so we'll do our site walk in a couple of Saturdays and we'll be better informed. And then again, with Tamika, it's getting the paperwork to us and to the state so that we can hold the hearing. Okay, well, and the paperwork, notification to abutters, notification in the newspaper.
So we're talking about a month, give or
We
take?
would, my guess is if you were to have everything all set for the next meeting, that we would start the hearing 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
The way we normally work is we have a submission meeting where the applicant comes in, here's the paperwork, this is what we want to do, describe it, and we ask really high-level questions. When we're convinced that the submission is complete and correct, then we set the hearing date.
Okay. Good.
That's it.
I'll see you in 2 weeks then.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so you had questions about bylaws, yes?
Oh, before I start on that, you were, when the one individual was talking about riverfront, you were asking for clarification. My understanding is you had it correct, but just to read it. Any lot shown on the definitive subdivision plan approved under MGL 4118K to 81GG, provided there is a recorded deed restriction limited to the total alteration of 5,000 feet or 10%, whichever is greater from the riverfront area allocated to the lots within the entire subdivision, is what you were saying.
But this lot is
This is
not
not
part
It's
of
not subdivisions.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
But you were asking about the, whether it had anything related to single-family dwelling. That is in there, but it's up above related to the date before or
Right.
after 96.
Yep.
That's the only place where it's mentioned as far as
Yeah.
anything related to single-family dwellings.
Yep.
So related to the bylaws.
Yes.
At the last meeting, there was, and I realize you're in the very early draft stage, which is something you pointed out last time. But there were some
For
questions.
the
on-
record, I'm sorry, please introduce yourself.
Oh,
I know you've done before, but.
Oh, that's
this
all
is
right,
just one of
Cody
those.
Coyne. The question was asked related to, well, in the brief statement included in the agenda, there were question marks about whether to include anything in the bylaws about wildlife or flooding. So that question was put onto the floor. One the question related to wildlife was, why are you singling out endangered? You just want to wash your hands of endangered, when if you were to basically draw a Venn diagram, it's not selective, it's commingled. There's no such thing as just an endangered wildlife area that doesn't include other wildlife. So the next comment was basically from page 122 to 246 in the Wetlands Protection Act regulations. That's all devoted to wetland habitat protection, wildlife habitat protection. That almost half that entire document is related to protection of wildlife habitat. So the question was, why were you singling out that segment of wildlife, and how would you implement it, and why are you considering that? So, well, you can go back and look at the tape. That was the question at the original time. So,
Right, but
then you
it was
made
also
this.
in the context of definitions, and we were talking
Well, I
about the
have
definitions
that.
of resource
I
areas.
have that definition in the regulations, like that. Definition of wildlife, it's in the preamble. Wildlife. Wildlife shall mean all mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. It's in that document.
Right, but that's already covered under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Right.
We don't need to cover it in a bylaw.
Well-
See, what the thing is, we don't want to be redundant with the bylaw.
Well, then
We
what
don't want
would
to
you,
be confusing with bylaw.
well, then what would you include in the bylaws that wouldn't be redundant?
That's why the question marks were there on that, whether it was even something that we wanted to put in the bylaw.
Okay,
Because it's already
it's
covered
something- the
by two
question-
other regulations,
Right.
that regulation and the endangered species.
okay. Well, the way that came across, so this second question was, in the context of that, was related to flooding. So if that was true related to wildlife, then you wouldn't, then you were gonna ignore flooding also? And not include anything like that?
Well,
I mean,
it's
that
not,
was the
it's
con-
not that we're ignoring it. The section we were in was definitions, and we were working through a definition of resource areas or related to resource areas for definitional purposes, not to define the limit of the scope of the bylaw, but merely to clearly define what we meant by resource area. That is all that section was about.
Well, I think if, and you need to check me on this, that if I remember right, just the notes that were there, and you can look at the tape, I think the question was asked, should we include this? Didn't have anything about the definition. Should we include this at all in the bylaws?
No, it was, should be included in the definition.
Definitions.
That was
We were just talking definitions roughly on that. That was all about definitions. It wasn't about the bylaw itself.
Yeah, we weren't looking to change the definitions or make any changes
We're
to
seeing how much,
how it's already defined.
right.
Well, then, let's go to the flood thing. It was then proposed on the floor that and you can look at the tape, that shouldn't be included in the bylaws because it doesn't have anything to do with Rutland because of the 100-year floodplain. That was, you can go back and look at the tape.
And again, you keep
So-
saying proposed. It was an open discussion for us in public. That's what it was.
But that was what was told back to me, is that that's a moot point.
You were during an open discussion of us. So there's no proposal.
If I remember correctly, the conversation about floodplain, we talked about, do we want to have a buffer? for
Right.
floodplain?
The
Right,
buffer
that was-
floodplain.
that
The
was the
Wetlands
core
Protection
question.
Act and regs do not have a buffer in the floodplain.
Right, but look at the tape, and one of your members basically said, that is nothing that even needs to be considered.
Well, we
Look
did
at-
consider it. We talked about it. And there's very little floodplain in Rutland. I think there's none.
Well,
We
no,
checked that on
we
the
saw none.
GIS map.
well, so I have those maps,
Well,
which
yeah,
was,
public
which,
maps.
so at the time, I was told that doesn't exist. I responded and said, well, I'm not sure about that. I need you to clarify that because I have maps that do show that. And then they were saying, please forward that to us.
Yeah,
Do you remember that part of the discussion?
I vaguely remember that.
You can go back and look at the tapes. So I'm considering both of those in the same context because of the way it was in the parentheses. Or whether that should be included or not included, and then I was told that it wasn't even something that should be in the bylaws because it doesn't pertain to Rutland.
What maps did you find floodplain?
So what I have, well, several, I have several. One is related to, so also part of the Wetlands Protection Act regulations and Massachusetts general law, it kind of charges conservation commissions with basically surveying and doing, they use the word research. Research everything that you have with which your jurisdiction is. Everything related to wildlife, watersheds, flooding maps, and all that. And then that plan is supposed to be, that's not separate from the bylaws, that's a plan for the community. And it includes, what's federally owned, what's not federally owned, related to the first topic, related to wildlife. So NHESP has priority habitats of rare species, and on these maps, there in the middle of Rutland, there are habitats for rare wildlife species. You can see that online.
When we talk about natural heritage, that's exactly what we're referencing when we say that.
Right, they generate that. So there's multiple categories. There's endangered. There are special concern, and then there's another third.
It's rare.
Rare.
species.
And then they use rare as a blanket for those three. So this is a map where it shows land within Rutland where those species exist.
Yep.
Then in addition to that, there is the USA protected areas within Rutland. It's just separate. This is
Okay.
United States Mass GIS data, US protected areas. This is Rutland right here. This
Yep.
is all US protected area.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm sure you know that. But those are some of the things that would be included in that plan. Rare species.
What plan?
Huh?
What plan are you referencing?
The one that's referenced in Mass General Law that the
Oh,
conservation.
okay, all right.
That the Mass Conservation is supposed to.
Right.
So, and then there's also the vernal pool maps for Massachusetts and Rutland. So that brings us to the topic related to floods. There are several maps, including ones from FEMA, that show flood zones in.
Flood zone and floodplain are two different things.
It is, but these are technically, it depends on where you look. Technically, a floodplain is along a river. A flood zone includes everything.
Yeah.
Includes the river, includes ponds, includes lakes, everything.
Yeah.
So in the regulations, it says, it refers to flood zones rather than just limiting it to floodplains. Map of Rutland. Here's the floodplain definition, which I'm sure you already know. But these are FEMA maps related to Rutland, as far as flood areas
Yeah.
Yep.
that are, and then that's backed up by the Massachusetts Environmental and Public Health Tracking System for the town of Rutland that also reiterates those same FEMA 100-year maps. That's what those are. That's all for Rutland.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just bringing this back because of the nature of what I was told at the last meeting. Bring the maps
Yep.
if you think they're relevant, and apparently they are relevant.
Sure.
And a lot,
Okay.
and
I was told that they
right.
weren't.
Well, a lot of,
So I'm just,
a lot of,
if you're in the early stages of the bylaws, it would seem, it would be important to know that.
but see,
And then in addition to that, the vernal pool certified sites within Rutland.
Yep.
Now,
And
much
the
of the
importance of
information
this
here-
is, under the regulations, this is land at risk of flooding. This has a double purpose meaning, this vernal pool certification. It's not just wildlife, but it's also area that's flooded. It's also, the boundaries are not determined by the floodplain. They are not determined by the 100-year storm. That's the importance of this. That's right in the regulations. This is in the town of Rutland.
yeah.
So you have areas, it's another supplement to this related to flooding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, much of the information we talk about, in fact, the maps, are in the open space and recreation plan that we published in 2017. I
Okay.
think there's a new version in
Right.
process right now. And if Melissa, we can ask her where that's going, but
Right.
she might be happy to not hear that question.
Right.
Okay.
Have you seen the open space plan by any chance?
No, sir, I haven't.
Take
This was-
a look at it.
It is online on the
Okay.
Concom webpage, and it's in the library.
Right.
in hard
And
copy.
the thing is too, is a lot of those maps
Yeah.
because it's all aerial.
Right.
I don't see, they're inaccurate.
Well, that brings up a good point. Those maps are supposed to be by regulation done every 5 years, but the federal government hasn't subsidized that.
Right.
Our area hasn't been done since '81, but the eastern part of the state was last done in 2011 through 2014.
Right.
I guess they're marching.
But like a lot of it I was saying is, it's like where I actually live, right, on Palmagussit.
Right.
I'm in a floodplain.
Right.
My house is 120 feet above the river.
Right.
If my house floods, Massachusetts is underwater.
Right.
I
Well,
live-
see, that was the
But
point.
see, that's the problem with some of those maps.
Yeah.
Well, see, but
I live below him, physically below him,
Right.
by how many, what do you think, 75 feet?
75 to 100 feet.
All right?
Well, I guess
And
my
I'm not
point-
in a floodplain.
Yeah.
And he is, which,
But see, again, those were, and it's not, we understand them, we know about them,
right.
and that's why we go look at a lot of things.
Right,
And
exactly.
putting feet on the ground tells you what's there.
Right.
You can take that, I mean, like a lot of these other maps, like the one we're doing, Joe and I go to Woodside tomorrow.
Right.
We've been there.
Right.
When I was on the board last time, we spent a lot of time over there.
Right.
Everything. So we'll go back tomorrow, and that's why I help them out, go look at it and go, we know what you want to do. You know what, let's see what it actually looks like. And now it's finished.
Right.
So now you get the, okay, you can go to here.
Right.
So again, we understand what you're doing with this, but a lot of that is, can I say generic information? It's satellite information, I don't know what the word is, but it's,
But it's what's in
nobody's
your-
ever been there.
Yeah, it's in your regs.
Yeah, but it's nobody, yeah, but guess what? That could be in a reg. We can walk and say it's not there and we can overrule that.
Well, but what I'm trying to say is this was in the context of the bylaws for you're talking about specific site, I understand that.
But that's what we deal with.
But I'm talking about for this community as a general
Okay.
whole.
he's more
The-
referencing a
The
bylaw.
comment that was made last time is that that's not even for consideration. We're not even talking about this anymore. I mean, that was basically the conversation. And I said, well, may I bring the maps so that you
yeah.
can tell me what's wrong with them?
Right.
Well, the answer is, we'll take the maps
Yes.
and we'll discuss them
Right.
next time.
Yeah.
And like I say, but
Bring it
again,
back up.
as you've seen now, because you've been in a
Right.
couple of, you see all this stuff comes before us.
Right,
And we make a site-by-site evaluation on it.
Yeah.
And when it's a big project,
Right.
they're bringing in engineers that know more than any of us do.
right,
And then we're playing off each other.
right.
So it's not that we don't regulate them. We don't want to make our bylaw, because again, that was an open discussion.
Right.
We haven't written anything, we're not in finals, we're not in anything else.
Right,
We're trying to set ourselves up for it, so, okay, we gotta do this and be broad enough,
right,
but then we're still going on an individual case-by-case basis.
right.
Right, the vernal pool, hey, it's a big thing of flood, but you know what? The number of vernal pools they are, to get them certified is a whole nother process. And yes, is it a place for flood? But you're not gonna say, well, there's a vernal pool here, so you can't do anything for 3 miles around it. You're not gonna say that either.
No, that's true.
So we understand yes, we understand that. And we've done this, most of us have done this long enough.
Right,
There's like, again, you've come into this and you're watching it, you see
Right.
it. So we're coming from past knowledge and experience, so we don't, I guess that problem is we don't explain to the people unless they ask for it, of where we're getting our rulings from.
Mhm.
But in fact, the map's great.
yeah. So, in that context, I understand you do site conditions, and that, this comes up both, it's not just for the risk to the residential home, it's also in the regulations that's habitat
Yep,
for wildlife.
yep.
And it was brought up at one of the earlier meetings I was mentioning, is that one of your previous directors was really concerned about wildlife corridors. And so I realize you don't want to block off everything around there, but who's the wildlife specialist that's saying, hey, you know, here's a vernal pool here, there's one there, there's one over, you want to put a house right in the middle of these 3 vernal pools? And isn't that going to have some kind of impact?
See, the
But
problem
you
with
guys
that-
don't, I don't think you guys do
But
that.
see, the problem we have with most of that is, you own lot 1, he owns lot 2, I own lot 3.
Yeah,
We're not gonna tell all 3 you can't build a house because there's a pool on 1 lot.
right.
That's, so we get
Well,
stuck
see-
in that quandary.
Well, see, that's where I.
What you're looking at though, what you're,
But
you're
see,
absolutely
Joe, let him
correct.
talk.
You're absolutely correct.
Right,
But generally, it only applies to a large project, not to a single house.
Right.
Okay, you know, when you do a subdivision,
Mhm.
all right, the paperwork gets this thick, because of all of that.
Right.
All right, and they have to submit it. And they submit copies to us, but they also have to submit copies to DEP.
Right.
DEP is the one that combs through it.
Right.
And really, in a subdivision, we don't deal too much with it.
Yeah.
We have approval, the right of approval on it, but DEP ultimately holds the key card.
Right.
And they're the ones that look at
Yeah.
some of the finer points that you're bringing up.
Yeah, I guess my concern is, I know what you're saying, but the concern I have is that I'm gonna play the part of the rabid environmentalist.
Yeah.
You guys are pro-development. You wanna wanna make sure you don't mess with the regulations, but you're pro-development. You want that to go through. And you're sympathetic to the person that comes in here that has a proposal that's got a lot, they're kinda on the fringes, but they're gonna let it go. But you know, the environmentalists would say, what are you even doing there?
Right.
Why are you here? This is protected land.
But you're on
Get
two-
out of here.
You're on two extremes.
Because it's
You know?
not protected. If it were protected, they wouldn't be allowed to, number one. Number two, it would be unfair to characterize us as pro-development. We are not anti-development. That's not the same thing as being pro-development.
Right.
Because we have to balance the interests of the act and the individual right to use a property. And that's a complicated balancing act.
Right.
It's called by right.
Right.
But you know what, here's
tough.
where I'm, you know, like,
Yeah.
if you have, you know, let's just say this is the community.
Right.
Well, you got a little protected wetland here and a little bit
Mhm.
of here and you have a little bit, and then house it. Did you really do anything? Did you really protect it? You protected this.
We protect as
You
well as we
protected
can
that.
in the context of each individual project.
But you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about. It's death by 1,000, you know, it's not gonna be
Yeah,
wetland.
It's 1,000,
It's-
right.
You know, if you surround a place by houses, it's not gonna stay wetland. It ain't gonna stay that way.
Right.
I'm
Not
not so sure about,
necessarily.
I'm
Not
not so sure about
necessarily.
that, because
Well,
part of what
no.
we do is we ensure that the water flowing into the wetlands is effectively.
But he's almost saying, it's almost like, you know, look at all the ponds and rivers that have all the milfoil problems and all the other stuff now, right? That was never a problem before development because you didn't have the nitrogen, you didn't have the other stuff. So it's all a byproduct of long-term development. So that's what you're saying, but we're saying we can't, we don't really get into that piece of it. We make the best of what we can really do. Because there's so many different pieces, so many different people own them. I mean, if you own 150 acres, hey, there's one thing in the middle we say don't do anything, you can go, but guess what, pay all your taxes on it. Really? But why you and not the next guy? Because he doesn't have a pond in the middle of his.
Well, I think that brings up a fundamental question. Just because you own it, does that mean you can do anything you want with it?
You can't
Within
do anything
regulation.
you want. There
If you
are-
meet the regulation.
Regulations.
Within the law.
Within the law.
Yes.
I mean, don't forget this, again, because like you say, you haven't been here long.
Yeah.
But this was all farms.
There's an
So there's,
exception.
there's other ones, there's farm ponds that were put in, there's this, you can see the spoils that were spilt, yet, like a couple, they come in, and here's the farm, well, it's really a man-made pond made back in the 40s, but what do we do with it, because it is wet, you know, so we try to play the balance, so it's like, what do you do with this?
Well, I get, where I'm coming from is exactly like that regulation that I just looked
Yeah.
up for you, which is the mindset, you know, here's a riverfront, you know, okay, you can do some, but you can't just consume it all,
Right.
you know? Well, that's and it's that mindset, you know, if you,
Well, it's like, a good example is what Julian came in with tonight, right? The riverfront thing and the other stuff. Again, okay, hey, they want to do this, and we look at it and you go, well, guess what? You can't do what you originally wanted, but they know what the scope of the law is, so if you move everything outside the 100, he's still got to meet his 10%.
which is
So
pretty
if
good.
you meet it,
Which is pretty good.
if you meet the whole thing of what they've put the regulations in for, who are we to say you can't build that one house?
We can't, because they'll appeal it.
They'll appeal it and they're gonna win.
Also, I understand.
But
You actually
that's-
saw an example of us taking an action beyond the law and the regulations.
But
today.
you have that authority to do it, it's in
No,
the
we don't.
regulation.
No, we don't.
Well, here, I'll read it to you.
What
I'll
I'm
read it
talking
to you.
about, what I'm talking about is we talk about the 15-foot no-touch zone. That is not in law, that is not in
Right,
regulation, not for the town.
Until we get a bylaw.
We ask
We
the
ask.
people doing the work
Yeah, they could-
stick by that. But
they
if
could-
somebody says we're not going to, we, as the Conservation Commission, have zero ability to influence that
Until we get a
You-
bylaw.
until we get a bylaw.
In
That's right.
section 8C, the Conservation Commission, it basically describes how other areas which the public necessitates, requires it to be retained, that the conservation can do that. You have that authority. It was almost like the law enforcement order. If it's deemed to be important, that can happen. You can
Well,
go
what-
beyond the
put it-
regulations.
put it
You
this-
have that
well-
authority.
No, you can never go beyond the
No,
regulations.
put this-
you can be more stricter, you just can't be more lenient.
Hey, the example is what he was trying to say is, like, we try to do the 15 feet, okay, to the border of vegetated wetland. By right, if we told them it had to be 15 feet, if they wanted to push it, they go right to the line, and they'll win.
Yeah.
Well,
Until we get a
Say,
bylaw.
You do have the authority to go above. Other areas which the public necessitates, requires it to be retained for conservation.
Which
There is
can be
that,
true, you just have to be careful of not getting sued, because that is a lawsuit that the town will lose.
well, I'm
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's always the case.
Well, some of these,
Well, the problem is,
setbacks and
it
stuff.
has to be
For
more
example,
than
if
we
you have to
feel
be-
it's important. You have to justify it
Right.
scientifically.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Right. It's a perfect example is, one of the vernal pools, right? That's the one up at Bear Hill, that's underneath the
Yeah.
bridge.
On the
Yeah.
bridge.
There's one underneath the bridge,
Yeah,
or vernal pool underneath the bridge, really. It's just,
It's a shaded area.
it's a shaded area now,
Doesn't meet the criteria.
it doesn't meet the criteria
well,
anymore.
fish don't have eyelids.
Right,
They like shaded areas. A bridge is a great place to fish, so.
so,
Don't
Yeah.
be fishing
If
in
there
the
were a
pool.
stream there.
If
right,
there was a stream.
that's right, that's right, but so.
Well, thank you for your time.
Oh, no, anytime.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you something right up front. I really didn't like being characterized as pro-builder or pro-developer,
Okay,
all right? And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not,
okay,
by any stretch of the imagination.
okay. My apologies.
Just so you know.
Okay.
That's all.
So,
Can you
if
get
bring
those
me the
maps?
I'll keep them,
Sure.
we'll have a discussion about them, about the
Yeah,
floodplains.
but look up the open space plan, because we did it, last time I was on, we did it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good, that took a long time, that was painful.
Now, the colors on these, because of the printer ink that we have, they're not quite as vivid
That's
as they
okay.
are online.
Okay.
Yes. I think, I'll ask the question. We'll wait for the map, but while we're waiting, I'm just gonna ask the question, is there any other business before the commission tonight?
I don't think there's anything else really going on.
I don't think so. It's been awfully quiet.
When we go, I'll grab him tomorrow. Maybe we'll take a ride up to that other loop too, while we're down there. We haven't been down there in a while,
Okay.
down Woodside. Remember we were having problems?
Oh, yeah.
Cause I'll leave a little early tomorrow. I'll give you a call on the way home and I'll grab you.
All right.
But I wanna wake up there because that's the hot point down there and that's been kinda quiet. But we really had any snow either.
Right.
This is kind of a very weird,
This is a
ground isn't frozen, this, that, what's spring gonna bring?
There was no,
There's no
there's
frost.
no square foot in the Commonwealth under drought.
Doesn't matter, we still, by regulation, we still have a water ban. It's mandatory. DCR water ban in Rutland's mandatory.
I don't think so.
Yep. It's mandatory. It's written in the bylaws now. From X to X, water ban's mandatory.
What, you talking about the water ban?
Yeah.
That's based on flow.
It's still based on, I think they're mandatory though.
Uh-huh.
I think it's mandatory a certain date to certain date.
It's only when
It's only if the flow.
a certain amount of, yeah, there's
The
only.
flow into the reservoirs
Yeah.
below a certain
Actually,
point.
what's the covenant? I wonder.
I don't know, it's not part of our.
No, I'm just curious. That's always what you judge it by.
No, I think we're Quinnipiac, right?
Yes.
I think Quinnipiac drives us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate it.
I
No,
don't know if these are good.
keep us honest, absolutely
Oh,
do.
no,
We,
Thank you for your help. Appreciate
we
it.
do value your input on this. I don't want to make it seem like we don't.
Well,
But again, like we said, it's tough because it's big pictures, small pictures, and we get small, people come in with us with small pictures. We know the big picture, but you look at it and go, it's almost like, you know, they have a town plan, you have this. Well, the problem with half this town is it was planned 30 years ago.
yeah.
And what do? You can't pull it back. Well, I mean, it's no different than Holden. Holden gave all their water to Worcester back in the 40s, and now Holden has no water, and they're going, I guess we should have kept that. It's because you don't have that, nobody was thinking of the big picture. I mean, who would have thought Sleepy Holden would have become what it is? Who needs all that water? Well, we'll sell it to Worcester, and this is a great deal.
Well, that's when Holden was trying to buy mustard fudge.
Right, and it's one of those, and you just look at the stuff and go, wow, if you had that big picture map 30 years ago, it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But guess what? If you had that big picture map 30 years ago, how many acres did you want to buy in Rutland, and where did you want them?
I don't mean to get all, well, I mentioned to you guys I'm from Colorado.
Yes.
And
You're from where?
Colorado.
Colorado.
and you know the water problems.
Yeah.
The whole West, they've had water wars since the beginning of time.
Yep.
I grew up with all that stuff.
Right.
And you know, they have a lot of wildlife, you know, so I grew up around that. But the other thing is they've had such an influx of people, they've kind of, it's, you know, places that were just miles and miles of open pasture
Yep.
are, you know, that California build where they're that far apart.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a little bit selfish. This is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Here, you know, I've had moose in my front yard. I had bear in my backyard.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
you
I don't
don't-
know if they're, so I'm a little selfish.
But you live in a
I don't
great-
want that
But
spoiled.
where your house is-
I don't want it messed with.
But see, the thing is, you have a great spot because they go up and down the rail trail, they do this, I mean, that's a protected sanctuary right around you,
Yeah.
and you can't ask for a better spot,
Yeah,
because that stuff's gonna be there.
yeah. Bobcats, I got pictures on my phone. Bobcats, foxes,
Yeah.
eagles.
Have you seen a moose yet?
Yeah, I got pictures of them.
Yeah.
There was one in Holden a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Down by the post office, just
Yep.
down from the post office.
Yep.
It made the news.
Yeah.
I got pictures of her too, so. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you.
Very much.
Have a good night.
Motion?
Make a motion to close?
Second.
Discussion? Councilor
Langer and I.
Don't lie.
Fine, Crane, aye. We're adjourned.